me and Justin, even outside of cameras, have had an amazing conversation. So I know, it'll be a very, very amazing podcast today.
They need to trust you first before they even buy into the service. You could look like super solid on paper, but they have to see the number on there. Like, okay, X amount of people trust that guy too. So
no doubt, huge corporations or publicly traded companies, the ones with like an owner with a personal brand like a Jeff Bezos that we know,
or like a Steve Jobs, dude.
Yeah, like we
guy was a legend.
Yeah, for sure.
Guy was a legend. And is Apple a personal brand? By no means. Like Apple without Steve Jobs, we've seen it still thrived because he built an amazing product. If Steve Jobs was amazing but the product was shit, no one would still be buying Apple today.
Everything is better when you just think long term, right? Because in the short term, things can be exciting, but it's really not fun just always chasing short term money. It gets tiring as well. I like the energy more when someone is like open to learning, versus in the service industry sometimes they're kind of closed-minded. Yeah. Even though they might hire us, they'll be like, we want it this way, but I'm like, hey, it doesn't work this way. When I had first started, I worked with a lot of dropshipper because that was my network, and that was also most of the people I was attracting. One thing I learned about that is that yes, they're business owners, but they're almost like kids in how they think about business, right?
Yeah, they were just off to a new product.
Product. Hey, my ad got shut down because my product is garbage and I barely shipped the product. It's like...
All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. We are here today in Montreal with the man, Splash. How are you, man?
I'm doing amazing, man. Been here for, I guess, 12 hours or so. It hasn't even been that long.
Made it.
Yeah, just made it last, pretty much like last night. Linked some of our friends like Serge, Hassan. You just now, and I love it, man. It's very different because everything's in French.
It is.
What I'm saying? It's like feels like you're in another country.
Yeah.
When you're going somewhere.
Tell the people, man. Where are you from? What you do? Just give a quick intro.
Oh, for sure. My real name is Parikshit. Go by Splash online. I was born and raised in Nepal, but I've been living in Toronto for the last 14 years. I do email marketing, or I've been doing email marketing since I started in 2017, started my business in 2018, and we still run that email marketing business. Yeah. Doing some consulting as well now. That's been a huge focus for me this year, kind of getting into the consultancy world. Or I was before, but kind of just, going a little bit more into consulting, because the service end is a little bit more automated now. Yeah. Overall business, marketing, business, entrepreneurship. Man, just business stuff, man.
Love it. We actually, to also give some context, we both met. This is only our second time meeting, right? So we both met in person in Cape Town back in January. Mm-hmm. And while people probably don't know this, but while you were recording the podcast with Serge, I was behind the cameras, so assisted to the podcast. So guys, I would say before you watch this one, I definitely recommend to go check out Serge Guattari's channel and check out the pod he did with Splash, because they went more, I think, in your background, your story. Yeah. And today we want to touch more the nitty gritty, right? The e-commerce side of things.
Stuff, just kind of give actionable advice.
Let's do it.
Go with the flow. Just have good conversations. I know me and Justin, even outside of cameras, have had an amazing conversation. So I know, it'll be a very, very amazing podcast today.
Yeah. So tell us, email marketing, right? First of all, what got you into email marketing? And let's just use that as an intro to the whole topic of e-commerce. Why e-commerce and why email marketing?
For sure. For me, how I got into the business model might not be like how other people got into the business model, right? What I mean by that, some people, they might see the business model or learn from someone through a course, whether it be me or someone else, and kind of start it. But for me, my journey started in drop shipping. So I was my ideal client at a point, right? So doing drop shipping, I had all these skills, running advertising, doing email marketing, customer service. And when an opportunity presented itself in 2018 for this person that was making a good amount of money with their brand, I wasn't making that much money. So for me, that was like an opportunity for me to make money. And I was like, hey, let me do emails for you. So it's almost accidental, right? And the reason I targeted e-commerce brand is that was my circle. And that's what I knew. I knew it through running my own brands. I knew it through, all the friends that I had made through dropshipping, e-commerce people. And, like think about, why does a business exist? It exists to solve problems. And when I did that, when I created those emails for that person, it was like a little spark in my head that went, I can do this with all these e-commerce people, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't like deliberate, like this is a growing industry, this is a service in demand. It was like I had this opportunity once, I did well with it, and it was just like, oh, you know what? I think I can do this for a lot of people, very, very grateful for where we be able to come. And I'm also very grateful to, be working in an industry that was growing, have a skill that was helpful at that time. So that was like, how I got started into email marketing.
Gotcha. And so walk us through a little bit now where you're at, where your head's at, because you talked about consulting, and I know you've got partners. In fact, you came to Montreal with, I believe, one of your partners.
Yeah, Justin.
So,
another Justin. Yeah.
So that said, walk us through a little bit about that transition and kind of where you're at right now, and then we'll dive a little deeper into e-com advice.
Oh, for sure. So with our email marketing agency, Mintab, we still run it. I think what happened in the last couple of years is I realized what my strengths are and what I like doing, right? And I even had gotten to a point with my agency at a point where it was more of a mental burnout, right? I was making good money, but I just did not enjoy what I was doing, right? And just continuing to run the email agency while I was wearing so many hats was just not a thing I wanted to do. So what I did instead is, I brought on people that had the strengths and area that I did not want to kind of handle, right? One of them was fulfillment, because I liked focusing on growth. I liked focusing on marketing. But worrying about fulfillment every day-to-day fulfillment, it got too much for me. So just having someone on that end, and also sales. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind doing sales. I don't mind doing sales calls. But also I've noticed how much it ruined the flow of my day if I had like a couple of calls, if I was working on something. So just kind of getting people that fill that role and that can work on those things that I don't enjoy, but they can enjoy, while I work on the things I am really good at. And it's not just like, oh, I don't want to do this because I don't enjoy it. It's like, what am I good at? Just honing in on, okay, these are my skills. These are what I'm really good at. And I've noticed that, hey, I'm good at this and I like doing it. Okay, let me just focus on doing that. And while this was happening as well, I used to have a course early on in 2019 about teaching people how to get started, in an online business with email marketing. So I'd already kind of grown that, and I had stopped it just to focus on the agency for a while.
Yeah.
But I still have so many people always hit me up like, hey, like, can you help me out? Hey, this is what's happening with our agency. And, I realized looking back at it, I was like, I enjoyed that too. And another thing as well, I like to look at the relationship between the client and yourself in the two industries, right? I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but like in the email marketing where it's a service, like, the relationship is very different than if you're consulting someone, they're, looking at you for advice, certain clients, not all of them, I think that, how do I explain, but just like the positioning, I'm saying, sometimes they felt like they could talk down on us, which I did not like, right? We made it clear, but like, oh, you're supposed to, you do work for us, like, versus consultancy where it's like, hey, like, how can I learn from you? Like, I like the energy more when someone is, open to learning, versus in the service industry, sometimes they're kind of closed-minded. Even though they might hire us, they'll be like, we want it this way. But I'm like, hey, like, it doesn't work this way. Like, you hired us for our expertise. So just because of that as well, I kind of like the consultancy more, and I had to restarted it back and, kind of just looking into, okay, what do they really need? How can I really help them? I've also realized with some of our, personal friends and close friends to us, how just them being around us and just them learning from not just me, but my business partners, some of my friends, like how much they benefited. I'm like, okay, let me just, do that as well. And I've gone through so many different stages of running an email business that I know if they're at a certain point, like what to do to, get them away from that, or like go through certain obstacles. So yeah, just kind of just notice again, noticing a problem I can solve, and coming up with a product and a service to really solve that.
Got it. And looking at the brands that you guys have worked with at MintAv, what was like the average brand size of e-commerce brands you guys were taking on?
We don't really like to work. So to give context, when I had first started, I worked with a lot of dropshipper because that was my network. And that was also, most of the people I was attracting. One thing I learned about that is that, yes, they're business owners, but they're almost like kids in how they think about business, right? Everything is like money in, money out. Yeah. Not that, hey, like an investment is not something that will just get you high return right away.
It's very short-term minded.
It's exactly that. It's a very short-term mindset. So because of that, a huge change we made is like, hey, like let's have higher standards for the brands we work with. So one of the thresholds we made was, okay, you have to be making $100,000 or more, right?
Sure. Because there's a month we're talking.
Yeah, a month for sure. Because those brands definitely exist, and we've noticed if you're already making a higher volume, like and you're a business owner, you can kind of empathize with the process, right? Yeah. Understand that, hey, and one of the things I say is we're not magicians, we're marketers. Yeah. We're not going to give you results right away, but it's like, hey, at least we're going to do what we can, and eventually you'll see the results coming in, because that's how marketing works. It's not like an instant thing. Yeah. So yeah, we work with brands. First, not just like, oh, they should be making a lot of money, but they're also like brands that are established, brands that have a potential for community, brands that have a potential for, like where people can actually, for example, not just like a fidget spinner store, right? Yeah. Like a toy store would be better than like a fidget spinner store. So just working with brands itself that have, that have something behind them that we know won't shut down soon, because in the past, working with these drop shippers, we set everything up for them. The next month, they don't even want to run those stores anymore. So that's just like, not the best for us either. Yeah. So some more long-term e-commerce brands.
So basically what you're saying is that if the client is short-term minded in their own business, then your partnership will kind of be viewed the same way.
Oh, yeah. And it sucks, right? Because you don't want to, like, if you want to work with someone, you want to work with them forever, like, like hopefully, right? Like, I mean, in the ideal world, yeah, but like, with dropshippers, we noticed like the churn rate be so high because it's not even our service, it's like themselves.
It's the mindset around, they were just off to a new product.
Product. Hey, my ad got shut down because my product is garbage and I barely ship the product. It's like, versus you have someone where they have a community behind it, the product is good, then email more. And hey, outside of us working with them and us it being a short-term relationship, it's like the marketing is more effective that way. Yeah. Right. If the product is garbage, we can't come in and like fix. You can polish turd as much as you want, it won't be gold. Yeah. In like 5 days of you continuously polishing, right? Yeah. So like we've noticed that people that have a more long-term approach on their business, like the marketing works better as well. So it's just a better relationship to work with. And, like that's one of the biggest changes we've made that we're grateful for, like working with brands, working with people that are under corporations. I know if you guys are listening and are like marketing agencies and such, like one of the most annoying things is when clients don't pay, right? Where they have cash flow issues. But we've noticed if they're already making good money, they are a brand, they are run like a business, we don't really have that issue. Like on the day off, boom. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We're getting paid. Yeah. And that's an amazing thing for sure.
Yeah, you're saying $100,000 a month. It's pretty much kind of the same threshold that we've pushed ourselves to start taking brands on at. We played with that number a lot through time. It was 25,000 at first, then it was like 50,000. But I also noticed the same thing is there becomes, I would say just right around the 7-figure level, to just be honest. I think a lot of us saying $82,000 something is just not a round number, so we say $100K a month. Yeah. But it's just exactly. It's a 7-figure brand. I was actually doing a podcast with one of our clients not too long ago, just right here, and he is a 7-figure e-commerce brand owner, and basically he did drop shipping at first, switched to that brand model, and he had the same talk. He was like, look, I had this not short-term mind, but I was like looking at my business in a certain way, and eventually I wanted to exit my business, and I had to transition from this short-term mindset drop shipping to now building something sustainable, an asset that you can sell. Because the way that people don't understand, but drop shipping is not an asset you kind of rent. There's nothing that you own. It's like renting. You basically, it's not your product. Your website is kind of made up on the fly. You are also renting ad space because you also don't own your ads. And a lot of these drop shippers, they don't do organic. It's purely from ads that they start making their money. So they don't own the community. They don't own the traffic. They don't own the product. So at the end of the day, it's so fickle that one little thing goes wrong, the entire funnel's gone.
Entire operation, and then there's no unique sales point, right? The person, why would someone try to buy you out if they can just start it on their own the next day, right?
Exactly.
Then versus a brand that has like a unique sales point where there's a barrier of entry almost to kind of get to the same level.
Yeah.
So 100% agree with you, man. It's just it's a longer everything is better when you just think long term, right? Because in the short term things can be exciting, but it's really not fun just always chasing short term money. It gets tiring as well.
And looking into the actual service that you were offering, so emails, what did you recommend brand had as a percentage of revenue coming from emails? Like, what did you have like a bit of a golden rule as like, we're going to try and get all of our brands to have 20% of their revenue coming from emails?
Yeah, we say 20 to 30%, but again, there are so many factors. We've gone higher. There's also been times where it's been lower, but 20 to 30% is very healthy. If you guys actually want exact numbers, Klaviyo actually has benchmarks based on the industry that you're in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it'll tell you based on your industry, like what your benchmark should be.
Okay.
And if you're, doing amazing, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, or if you're doing, not performing well. So we like to kind of go off of that because, they have the data that kind of backs it up. But we've noticed that, again, if you sell a good product, you have a good brand, and you're not utilizing email marketing, it's really not that hard to get you up to 20 to 30%.
Yeah.
And honestly, 30% for sure. Like one of the brands that we had started working with it was a cold email. We got a client from cold email. One of our first emails from clients from cold emails. Again, nice. A brand that's run like a business, and they were not really utilizing emails. And even just last month, I'm pretty sure we did I think 28% or so, which equated to 220,000 or something along the lines of that. And that's because they had an amazing product. They have a community behind them. Even if they were not doing email marketing, people like their product enough where they're making videos on it where people are identifying with the products in a way. Just having an amazing a system, a proper brand that, when we just came in, we just applied and we supplemented it, right? And that's a huge misconception for some of these people that try to hire us, is they think that we can come in and solve their business problems, where it's no, we're more of a supplementary service. It's not like you can't come to us. A lot of people sometimes also tell me, hey man, I have a list full of, let's say 6 figures contacts. What can you do with it? I'm like, nothing, bro.
There's not much.
Yeah, you haven't contacted. It's think about it in real life, you just check your inbox and it's a random email one day. What's the first thing you're gonna do? You're gonna unsubscribe.
Yeah.
Right? Email marketing works not by fooling people. It works by you sending emails to people that actually want to read them,
It's all contextual.
Exactly. How many times can I fool you to open my email until you unsubscribe?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And if you don't even expect the email, how can I expect you to buy?
Yeah, true.
So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And there's 2 different questions I want to ask. I'll try and remember both, but one I want to get to straight away is you mentioned that brand then was not really utilizing emails. And to me, I remember the first time I had that question, it kind of also pushed me to, I did not have an answer, but for the first year and a half of the agency, I was only taking on brands that were not running ads. So they had no prior, and getting them from 0 to hero was a much different story than having, let's say, a thriving brand that comes to work with us. They are already running ads. They might already be getting okay or pretty decent results. And then they're like, look, we want to start working with you guys. And one prospect I remember was asking us, he was like, okay, but all the case studies you're sharing, these 0 to hero stories, they weren't running ads. In our case, we're already doing good. We're healthy. We got good margins. Why should we work with you? And I was like, you've got a great question right there. It's very
really
valid
point. That's a really valid point.
If an email or if a brand comes to you for email marketing and they're already, you audit their account, they're doing decent, how do you go about it? Where are the micro improvements that you guys kind of tweak at, or like where's the edge that you usually see you can get for an existing brand?
For sure. Again, contextual, right? Even if they are already doing it, they might be doing well. What if the brand owner is doing it itself while they have all these other things going, right? You know what I'm saying? And you can get good results kind of just doing it. But like you said, I think the difference comes is when you are testing, when you're...
let's pause real quick.
when you're segmenting, you know, when you are actually going ahead and trying different things out, trying different strategies out. And a lot of brand owners at times, they don't have really like time or, you know, energy...
What's happening with the mic setup?
We're good now. Yeah,
we're good
a
now?
lot of times they might also not have like time and energy to do so. So there's an angle as to why they would want to work with us, right? Is because, okay, listen, like there's
I think it's...
Is it slowly just like going down?
It's still going down right now. Let's try to push it back like that.
Up. Maybe it's just like this angle too. Oh, boom! There you go. Should be good now.
Good.
I think we're blessed.
Good. Yeah. All right, we're back.
You know, so sometimes it's like, hey, like even the person that we're working with, like this is only, we're getting results, but this is where their work limit's at. You know, they don't really know the strategies, right? So for us, it's been elevating the design. We've been in stores where they're making good revenue. Then you look at the designs and you're like, wait, what? Like, there's no congruency between your socials are looking beautiful, your website's looking beautiful, but your designs are all over the place on emails. You're still making money because, you know, you have a funnel and you know, it's like, it's working well. People are going through this customer journey and, you know, getting the emails, but you're not really utilizing it properly. Or same with the copy, right? I've noticed a lot of time it be a congruency problem where we come through and just kind of, you know, get that congruency ready for them. And also identifying new opportunities, right? Through split testing, through segmenting. Because right now they might just... Because a lot of brands also come to us and they're like, yeah, you know, we still make like 4,000 to 5,000 an email every time we send the email. But then you realize they just blasted the whole list all the time. Yeah. And they're also only just blasting it to when it's time for promotions, right? And they might also come to us because, hey, like, we're doing emails, but they're all promotional. Can you help us create some that are more content related, where you know there's some value behind it, you know? Because if it's just always promotional, then in the long run, people are going to unsubscribe because they know it's going to be another promotion. Yeah,
they're jaded. There's no that was one of the biggest things. Someone had told me, like another email marketer, that was like, most people send out emails for sales, but there's not a lot of story building, of community building, and email is a great place to get that. You can honestly do. One of the brands that I like, the way that they do emails is also Cuts. I just love this brand in general, like Cuts Clothing. And they do a lot of like, they're going to send you to their community. They're going to send you to that video, to this post. They just use this also as a way to keep you in touch of whatever they posted on which platform. So I think that's also...
Do you know about Manta Sleep? The sleep eye mask?
Yeah.
So they have an amazing... I got this from my homie Jordan Welch, by the way. He told me to check them out. I remember 2 years ago. And you know, they have this thing called Sleepscape. It's a newsletter that gets sent out every week. And it's like a cool format. They have some memes. They have like trivia question for the week in the beginning of the email. And towards the end, they have like a answer, community feedback for the week. You know, like things like that where it's engaging, where you feel like you're part of something versus... Yeah, I'm just in this list because I like their products, and if they give me a good enough promotion, I might buy one day.
Sure.
Like there is people like that that'll stay on. Even me and with certain brands, like I'm in their email list because hey, one day they might send me a fat discount where I'm like, hey, let me, you know.
Yeah, same.
Like I'll buy something, right? But versus something like Sleepscape where they've engaged me, like, you know, there's been times in the past where I've looked forward to people's emails, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to be e-commerce. But I remember like certain personal brands, like my mentors, like I used to enjoy reading the emails. So you got to really think is like, hey, like how can we create emails that these people enjoy reading and get value from? Because if it's all just promotional, then, you know, eventually you're not going to really make people want to read it. Or outside of reading, it's like engaging with it, you know, like be really, really part of it.
Yeah. I think that's it. And to go back to the question earlier, which was more about like, what do you do when these brands, there's like, you know, they come in, they're already pretty well set. I think also another answer I personally come with time is, So there's two things I always tell prospects. I'm like, first, we might just have a slightly different approach than X other agency, and that might just happen to work best for your brand. Like I've seen that sometimes. It's like, look, have we done something remarkably different than the other agency? At a basic level, no. But just the fact that we focus more on broad audiences or that we're more creative focused, just the way that we like our mechanism, the way that it's slightly different might just work better for that brand. And another thing also comes down, I always tell people, I'm like, look, let's just say, let me put you in a situation. You've got two plumbers. They're both the same, both 40 years of experience. They're both fixing your toilet the same way. Which one do you take at this point? It comes down to how likable one of each person is, and it's like
as well.
I forgot where it was. It was like a French, like from France agency owner. I like they're building a big like local agency, and I follow his podcast, and he was saying like one of the biggest thing that you can build online is like just becoming a likable character where people are just going to want to come and work with you just because like they like you. They've seen your content, or they've seen, they like your emails. They've seen something online that they just associate with. And it's not that they're not even going to look into your mechanism. It's just like, I just want to work with that guy. Seems like something I'd agree with, somebody I'd agree with, somebody I'd like hang out with. So how have you formed connections with some clients where like you feel a little closer, like with almost like friendship like relationships with your clients?
For sure. I think when I was way more involved in my agency, I was always trying to do that, right? Meet up with them in real life. I met them, like making sure I take care of them. I remember in Tulum, one of my clients was there. We're taking tequila shots together.
Nice.
Like that's always fun. But that's why I'm very grateful for my business partners and the guys I have now. Like they have been doing that. Like I see, because again, with my agency stuff, I'm not really involved with the day-to-day stuff as much anymore. That's why I have my business partners and just have leveraged that, because they free up time for me to work on my other stuff. But I've noticed like my business partners and now how they talk to the clients is like, hey, love you, miss you, haven't talked to you in so long. So I've noticed that make a huge difference for client retention, because exactly what you said, right? It's like the likability of it as well. Like, I can go work with someone else, but I like this person, I enjoy it, and they're getting results for me. Another crazy, something I remember as you were talking about that, I remember once, a long time ago, my friend told me that this one brand, because they were both doing advertising, worked with this other person, even though he's like, I know I'm way better than that guy, but they worked with them is because he had more followers on Instagram. You see what I'm saying? So it's crazy how like what people actually care about. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like that online perception to this brand meant more than maybe, like the skill part of it. And maybe for them, that was like, oh, that means more followers, he's better. So it's an interesting point. That made me think for sure.
And I had a very similar story. I'm not going to name the name, but people can guess. They're one of the biggest SMMA gurus in the UK. There's pretty much only two. So one of them, we actually worked with the client that left their agency to come work with us. And I know that because the client sent us some of the Loom updates that they were getting from that agency, and I recognized the teammates, and they gave us access to the ad accounts, which were like the tags of that agency. So I knew it was them. And funny enough, the backstory with that client is we had met, I think it was like in November of 2021. And initially he was like, yo, like your pitch solid. I love what you guys are doing, but I've decided to move forward with X agency. And he didn't give me a reason why at the time. And then 6 or 8 months later, he came to work with us and he was like, I'm going to be completely honest. I thought your pitch was better, but that guy had more like social proof. Like he just looked more legit. Like
online?
He's like, guy had like tons of followers. So I just thought that, what they did had to be better.
Right.
And he's like, finally I decided to work with you guys. So that was like, to me, an eye-opener. I was like, look, yes, you could be in the trenches, because we talked about that earlier, right? Being like popular. On our way here, actually, we talked about popularity, and it's like, there is this level where you do have to build a name for yourself, because it comes in handy just to get somebody to trust you off the bat.
That's true.
Then to keep them on, your service delivery also has to be A1. But just to get them in, it helps a lot. And I've seen it with that guy. Perfect example. They need to trust you first before they even buy into the service. You could look like super solid on paper, but they have to see the number on there. Like, okay, X amount of people trust that guy too. So
no doubt, and I've had these thoughts before as well. And it's always, it's cool to be the billionaire with the shirt, with the white tee or whatever. But the way the world works is, hey, listen, man, people judge you on your appearance, right? Like we can go ahead complain about that's wrong and you shouldn't do that, but that's how the world works. So are you gonna be mad why the world is like that, or just kind of understand that and use it to your advantage, right? Which is exactly what you said. Build the brand, do the things that actually like talks to these people, like leverage that instead of just kind of like be a victim, be like, oh, that's whack. I don't want to do that. Like I've noticed that with like, why people don't want to start personal brands. They want to be the low key person. What?
Yeah.
Like that's, you can be low key person still having a personal brand.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But it's like, you don't want to think that way because you don't know all these opportunities that you might be losing. Because again, like you said, you don't know what people prioritize and value when it comes to, like how they perceive you and such.
And I think as like our customer base, right? Because I know now you work also with like agency owners, but you still have Mint-Av, which is e-commerce brand owners. And kind of likewise, right? I have the agency, which is entirely e-com. And now with PCAD, my consulting program, we've got a few agency owners in there. And what I think both equally should have a personal brand, because I've noticed our clients that own an e-commerce brand and also build a personal brand on the side, or if they integrate some form of personal aspect into the brand, they just do so much better. Like from a retention aspect or like a returning customer rate aspect, it's so much easier to build rapport with their audience because like, you don't really, especially in this day and age, you don't really think about the product. You think about like, I love Splash, it's like I love Splash first, and then I'll whatever, is your service legit? Yeah, I'll go work with you. But it's the same thing from a product-based business. It's
Tesla,
like
Elon,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Like, I don't know. I forgot where this study was from, but I think it was during COVID times how they were talking about how like these huge corporations or like publicly traded companies, the ones with like an owner with a personal brand like a Jeff Bezos that we know,
or like a Steve Jobs, dude.
Yeah, like we
guy was a legend.
Yeah, for sure.
Is like guy was a legend. And is Apple a personal brand? By no means. Like Apple without Steve Jobs, we've seen it. It still thrived because he built an amazing product. If Steve Jobs was amazing but the product was shit, no one would still be buying Apple today. But the guy had both. He was charismatic. He was also quite special. Like he was captivating. People loved the guy, and I'm sure millions of people bought from Apple just because they were like, I fuck with, I fuck with Steve Jobs. Like I just love the vibe of this guy.
Yeah.
And I just can't help but think like it's the same thing from e-commerce brands. And a lot of the time, like right now, especially that we've worked with bigger brands and we're starting to take on bigger and bigger brands. Somewhat like the eights and on their way to 9-figure level. It's like a lot of them are starting to think about exit, and they're like, I don't want to be too personal because like what if I want to exit? Sure. If your goal is purely exiting and like doing that as like a money play, then yeah, I can understand. But on your way up, I definitely think you should be somewhat involved as like the face of the brand, because there is more advantages than disadvantages for you to do that.
Yeah, someone actually, George Blue, legend, has helped me a lot, taught me a lot. He said, personal branding and content is one of the like low risk, infinite ROI tasks you can ever do. It's like one of the only ones, like one of the only ones out there. There's no risk if you make a content. It's okay. It's like whatever. You can make it for free. It's not like you lost anything.
No,
there's no risk. But the ROI is infinite.
Exactly.
You can make your videos from 4 years ago could still reach to people today and can give you a return. So, I mean, that's something that's been way more prevalent to me. Is like, man, like I was been trying to make a personal brand since 2017, 2018, and even now I'm like, wow, like it's more important than ever, right? We're just at brunch and we were just talking, and my homie was like, yeah, that advice that you gave our friend about how your Instagram now is like the new business card, like that made a huge difference for him. And I'm like, for sure, right? Because again, perception, how they see you, right? Like when someone wants to work, like your Instagram's a new business card. I don't remember anyone giving me their business card recently. It's like all their Instagram, and that makes that definitely makes a huge difference. You know what I mean?
And one thing in that, I think people forget the personal brand. Like a lot of people I'll see, especially in like more the agency side and the e-commerce side, but you'll see them posting like, only short form content about like business advice, or only
stuff.
like, you know, yeah, they're now labeled as the guy that knows what he's talking about. But I think you're back into like, they're almost doing themselves a disservice at this point, because now the prospect's like, okay, well, this guy seems like he's got knowledge, but there's no personality behind it. So now again, we go back to the same thing as before. Guy's got a somewhat okay mechanism, good knowledge. This guy also does, but this guy's likable because he's posting stuff about how he's a Christian and how he's got, you know, he's playing with his kids on Sundays. And I've also got kids, so I want to work with somebody who's got kids. You know what I mean? So people need to see also that personal side. And last point I'll do before pitching it back to you. It's I had this conversation with my dad. He was like, because my dad has his own business, and he never really shared too much personal life on there, like really more professional. And he was like, are you afraid like of sharing your personal life on there? Like, don't you think that's gonna like push people away from wanting to work with you? And I'm like, you wouldn't believe what happened since I started sharing my personal life. I kid you not, and I swear by this. When I got the Tesla, I posted a story about that, and afterwards I did like a post and talked about why I got the car, what it meant for me. An old prospect came back to life and texted me saying, like, congrats, such a nice car. Business must be doing amazing since you were able to get that car. Would love to speak with you again.
Yo, it's so funny.
And I was like, dude, that's
crazy.
like, I'm posting something like that I thought in my mind was just kind of random, and somebody aligned with that because they liked cars, and they're like, hey, car's a sign of money. If you got a car and if you got money, it means that your business is doing well. And if your business is doing well, then it must mean you've offering a good service. So let's talk. And I was like, look, that for me, honestly, it's more about that. And even on the channel right now, like people are probably watching this on YouTube. Like YouTube itself for me has been a place where I was able to slowly get more vlogs. Like I'll try once a month at least to have like a more personal piece on there.
Cape Town, amazing.
Yeah, Cape
vlog.
Town, right? Cape Town was like
vlog.
amazing vlog, super fun. I had one recent one with like in New York where I proposed to my now fiance. And
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And like, yeah, people just like it. There's a little less views than in some other content pieces, but nonetheless, people are like, huh, like that's.
I think that's what makes the difference too. I'm gonna quickly touch on.
Yeah.
I was just sharing this at dinner yesterday, but I was sharing that about when I bought my watch.
Yeah.
How like old prospects that were ghosting me hit me back up saying, "Yo, let's meet up soon."
Exactly.
You know, and you're like, what? Like, it does not make again logically. And also in a way, you're like, oh, that's shallow. You know, some people might say that's shallow.
But it's the game.
You're going to attract the wrong people. But it's like, no, like they say don't judge the book by its cover, but everybody does, right? So you can say don't, but if the people do it, then it is what it is, right? That to the point about you saying, you know, when you share personal stuff, how people can relate. Like I've definitely noticed that, you know, like anyone that was following me, like they really gravitate towards me because they understood we have the same values. Yeah. You know what I mean? I remember Russell Brunson talking about exactly what you said. When he was selling on the stage, and how he would mention he's a college athlete, who would come to the back and try to buy more? College athletes.
Exactly.
When he's a family man talking about his family, who's coming back? Family, right? So it's like, and you know, another point as well, because a lot of people I see now are trying to start their personal brands, you know, getting on Twitter, getting on Instagram, but you know, like the right information is just, it's right. There's only, you know what I'm saying? There's only so many times people can say, here are 5 segments, right? Yeah. For email agencies, let's say, right? Let's say you're the guy that's like, hey, here are 5 segments, here are 5 emails. It's not like there aren't hundreds of you out there. No. It's not like maybe Chase Diamond, you know, shout out Chase Diamond. Like, it isn't like he hasn't probably already tweeted about it and people have already seen it and learned it from him. It's like, what makes you different? It's you, who you are, right?
Exactly.
And if you don't have that personal element, then you're just another robot to them. Yeah. You're just another robotic person, and they can just go get the same information somewhere else as well.
Thinking of it, I think I now remember what you said about Russell Brunson. I think he was talking about in one of his books where like you pick, maybe it's not from him, but like you pick 3 or 4 character traits of yourself that like you just integrate within your business content, and you'll create like these different sub personas. Where I'm thinking also another guy right now like Ravi Abuvala, where this guy shares a lot of stuff about his plane. Then in another one it's like more like his girlfriend. He's gonna have a lot of gym stuff. So you pick kind of these areas of your life where you share constantly content about that. once a week maybe, but just enough to have like in the midst of your business content, so people recognize you as the guy who flies a plane, is jacked, has, loves to spend time with his girlfriend, and also builds an amazing business. So that's like who you are in your prospects' eyes. But I definitely think it's a smart way to build your brand.
No doubt about it. For me, it's like I've noticed like travel be a huge thing. People think, oh, I'm always traveling. You know what I'm saying? They're like, oh, and then I've noticed people that want to work with me are like people that probably want to travel. You know what I mean?
Sure. And travel is also an interesting one because you can take so many pictures and videos while you're there and then slowly offload them on social media. So people think that you're still traveling, but you're not. The amount of times, hopefully, I don't know if she's going to be watching this, but my grandma, she's like you're still, you're still traveling. I'm like, no, like I came back like a month ago. She's like, well, I saw all these pictures. I'm like, no, it's like pictures from my last travel. Like I'm just still posting them on, So it creates sort of this illusion, but also that's, again, the brand.
Exactly that.
So to come back now to the e-commerce part of everything, so look, in the last year and a half, or I think now it's going to be 2 years now, obviously iOS 14 hit, and now they're coming up, I think with iOS, is it 16, 17, whatever, they're going to have like I've heard about SMS is also going to get like messed up. I'm just curious, I know you're not as involved, but where do you kind of see that going? Is that something that kind of scares you, or like you've adapted well 2 years ago, and you just think you're going to do the same? So where do you see that going?
I remember in 2021, I remember when that update hit, everybody was freaking out, right? And I think it was just, again, we're in an industry where exciting things don't happen as much, so that definitely like scares you a little bit. But again, if the best email marketing strategy is sending emails to people that want to read it, they will find a way to read. You know what I'm saying? It's like, again, we're not trying to trick people into doing it, right? So even when iOS 14 hit, maybe it might not be as effective. That normal person that just came in, they might not be able to see it because they went to spam, or you can do your hide your email thing where you might not even be able to contact them. Is like, but one thing for sure, and this is why we're business owners, we adapt, right? So we don't know what might happen. We don't know what might change, but we know that, hey, we can adapt and we will learn, and we'll learn from what other people are doing. So that's always been a really good strategy for me, is like, hey, listen, adapt and let's just do what we can from the best of our ability. And during that time as well, like we thought all these things are going to be crazy affected. It's like, no, like we just continued making good emails and sending emails to people that want to read it. And, it worked well, right? Like these things will always happen. It's just another obstacle in a business. I think it's just adapting to what's going to happen and just doing what you can from your side to the best of your ability. However, there are going to be, like I think you still got to be cognizant in a way of like how things are changing and how it's going to affect you. And just like, for example, AI, like, it's so funny. You ask AI, what are the top 20 jobs it's going to replace? Email marketing's on there, right? Out of all the jobs in the world. So like, I am aware of things like that, and that makes us go, okay, like if that's the thing, then how can we make sure we're, protected from it, or how can we leverage AI to do so, right? Or like, how can we like be different in a way? So like, it's all about just kind of like, being on top of what's going on, being able and open to adapt, not just being open to adapting and moving forward from there.
I don't know if you know the guy, but on Twitter, there's this other email marketer, Zarek.
For sure. Met him in Dubai too.
You met him in Dubai? No.
He met him first in Toronto, then met him again in Dubai. Okay. A friend of mine, Met
him once in Marbella last summer, actually, and I've been following him since on Twitter. He's saying, like, he's talking a lot about that lately, about AI and copywriting, and I love that because I've actually requested some of his like 2-step posts. Like I've replied and like saw what he was talking about, and this whole past week and a half, I've spent all my time trying to integrate AI within the agency. And I'm working with a very close friend of mine. We're trying to like embed as much AI into our workflows as possible, because we're like, look, not only can we save costs in terms of labor costs by leveraging AI, but instead of just being afraid and be like, it's going to replace us, might as well just replace ourselves, like in the first place. Like, let's just replace ourselves first. And I think what Zarek was saying was like, the good marketing fundamentals are what will last. And I might be getting this wrong, but the way I understood it's from his perspective, which is basically the same perspective that I have, is that as long as you're you think of yourself as a marketer and not as an email marketer, then you're good. Because I had this analogy that I always keep coming back to our team. I'm like, look, there's two types of carpenters, right? There's the guy that knows how to use the tools. He knows how to use a hammer, how to use a drill, and is great at doing that, right? But then the moment you hire a robot to basically drill, the screws and whatever, the guy's out of a job. There's this other guy that does the research when building the house or whatever structure they're building, knows about the materials, knows about like how they interact together, and like is able to like do like proper recommendations and stuff. He'll last a little longer on the job because like he's not as easily replaceable. It's the same thing from a marketing's perspective. It's like Klaviyo is a tool. Facebook ads is a tool. They're all a medium for you to express marketing. And if you understand fundamentals, I'm like, some of these guys, Ogilvy and all the OGs, like all the actual marketers from the 50s, you take them for 24 hours, you teach them Klaviyo. They're probably going to outperform every single email marketing agency. Easily. You teach them Facebook ads, they're going to outperform every single ads agency. You just got to know marketing first, and then actually you'll succeed with whatever the tool or medium as an ad platform or email platform you'll take.
Oh, no doubt about it, man. 100%. It's again like these fundamentals and these principles. Like that's why we still read Ogilvy, forgetting Dan Kennedy's books, because these are timeless principles, and like timeless, and also you won't be replaced as easily. And like the carpenter point is like the second guy would be the guy that people would hire to use AI, right? So now if you're the second guy, your knowledge, you use AI to help you build it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, as long as you are, you just got to be, ahead of it. Be the person that's not replaced, but leverages whatever is trying to replace you to even be better. I think that's where it is. Like we're gonna notice exactly what you said. The agencies that are going to thrive are not the ones that are vulnerable into getting replaced by AI, but that are even stronger because they use AI.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And honestly, I wasn't planning on speaking about AI, but I think it's such an interesting topic that we should dive deeper into it.
For sure.
And what do you see? Like, here's the thing, right? Right now, AI is somewhat limited by what it can do. So it doesn't understand, as an example, Klaviyo. You can't just tell it, here's that website, learn about it, and then start using it. Like it just cannot do that. But it's like, I don't think we're far off from a time where
I don't
someone's going to be able to do it, right? Like someone's going to figure it out.
At all.
So let's just put ourselves in the future now. You've got an AI that is able to design like an email design as well as a designer would. It's able to do the copy like very good, and somebody's figured out the way to have also AI do like proper research and stuff for knowing what it's talking about essentially when it writes that email. What I think, and I'd like to hear your thoughts after, is going to happen is that people are going to have to go up a level and become like product builders, where like SaaS or software is going to become like the core of all of these businesses, and you're going to have to be the guy that has the knowledge and to master that AI and create it or power it or help enhance AI in a way. And I'd be curious to think like how far are we from that happening? And second of all, what are your thoughts on where the job market is going to be? Yeah,
bro, literally what you said earlier, I don't think we're so too far off from AI doing what our agency does.
Yeah.
A business owner goes to a software, I want this email in a persuasive way, simple, witty copy, promoting this product for this holiday, click a button, done. Yeah. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and even a software that probably sends it out as well.
Exactly.
I don't think we're that far off, but I think, again, people that are going to stand out are the people that know how to use it, but not only know, like, for example, right? ChatGPT. Like, there's people that are coding stuff with it, but there's also people that are just writing, can you rewrite this for me? You know what I'm saying? So I think it's not just only like, I think it's going to be the people that understand how to get the best output from it, right? People that understand, okay, what do I input? How do I use it? How do I leverage this to get the best possible output? I think those people are the ones that are going to be winning. And also, I think for the job market, again, I haven't looked too much into it, so don't take what I say as like, like facts or whatever, right? Yeah. This is what I'm thinking is like any low skill stuff, that's why you got to be the best. Like, that's why you got to be better than ever. Because, and you know what? That's why you got to have a personal brand. Going back to what we were talking about, man. What makes you different? Again, like what makes you not a robot is who you are, right? Yeah. Like people mess with you. There's only one you. So like being unique is a huge part of not being replaced. If you're just another Tom and Harry copywriter, and AI is better than you. But I want to work with Dan Kennedy. I want to work with his copy. I want to work with Splash's emails agency. I want to work with Justin's agency, right? Like that's very different than like, oh, I just need this done.
Yeah. And one of the guys that Serge and I was speaking to in Cape Town that we met, shout out Dan, he's like very into AI. And he was telling us, he's like, look, I think what's left at the end of the day is community. And that's why I think personal brand comes back to that. He's like, AI can't create community. Like there's a personal aspect missing to it. It's robotic. Like people are gonna want to connect, and community is one thing where you're probably gonna be able to still monetize for a very long time, just because of that personal aspect. People need to feel connected. It's a basic human need to have your tribe, so people want that.
That's a good point.
And you said earlier that we're not far off from being completely replaced. I had this exercise that I was doing mentally the other day. I'm like, look, copywriting right now, you know, we're using tools like Jasper. A lot of our copy is being done by AI. Then there's these softwares like AdCreative.ai that I've saw, which it's not there yet. Like it's very basic, but still you can see that like people are trying to automate the ad creative process. You're like, okay, creatives are now being done by it. Copy is being done by it. Now, Facebook is going like really broad now, and their new campaign that I recently did a video on, you don't even do any targeting anymore. It's purely you just put ads to it and it figures out who to show it to. So you're like, where do I fit, you know, within that? I'm like, everything that we would be doing is being done by these softwares, but we're probably 3 to 5 years off of like that being like fully complete in my opinion. 5 years actually is a bit of a stretch. I'd say 3 years. And there'll become a point where people will just come to you for, again, I think it's personality, it's community personality, and that'll just be it. So the best investment I think you can do right now is in yourself, is treat your own name and person with respect, like keep your reputation strong 100%. And just invest a lot of time and money into yourself. Like 100%. That now more than ever. Again, a lot of people have been saying like buy trainings, buy knowledge, and just like invest in yourself. But now it's also in your image, I think is like super key.
No doubt about it. And you know, it's like this is not only the first time in human history where things have changed to a way where it changes humanity, changes the way we do things, right?
Yeah.
There's been rich people and poor people in every situation, right? So it's like it's always adapting, man. You know, it's not the strongest, the smartest, it's the ones that are able to adapt. You know, I think Ty used to say that a lot, and that's true. I think the ones that will survive are the ones that adapt with the change that's going on, and I think that's what you should always be doing, is adapting and learning, and again, being someone that can leverage what's going on instead of be a victim. Oh, the emails are going to be written themselves. Like, no. Okay, how do I, leverage that where I can still win? And I'm all about that adaptability. And you know what? It just comes from investing in yourself.
Exactly.
And the part about, I think it's like, because when I first started, I knew personal brand was important. But now it's like, I feel like everyone should have everybody kind of has a personal brand, whether they like it or not. Some are private, some maybe, unless you're just fully off social, right? But it's like people know you more from you posting online than just meeting you once for real, you know what I'm saying? So exactly what you said is very, very true. This should be a wake-up call to just go harder with your personality or personal brand.
Exactly. And where would you say, for Splash, what are the next steps right now? What are the goals? Where are you going next in the next, I won't say 6 months because I think that's too short, but let's just say 2 years. For sure. Where are you going?
For sure. I want to invest, again, a lot in my knowledge of myself. You know what I'm saying? I think that's something I've been doing, and I want to definitely continue doing so. I am going to, my main focus right now is elite email. Seeing where that goes. Just been helping email agencies, just going with the flow, really, man. I like consulting a lot. I like helping people with what they have going on. I like working with a certain type of people. I've done this a lot where I was just like, I think to myself, right? Because you can always look at some other people's life and you're like, I want to live their life. But no, it always goes back to you, right? Because there can be that guy that's making $200,000, but you don't know his reality. He might be just, addicted to drugs, just trying to keep everything going, or just working tirelessly, ruining his family life or whatever. I'm really just trying to optimize my life that is how I want it. You know what I'm saying? Like be able to do this, be able to do that, like while still running a business. But business wise, I think we have an amazing opportunity with Mint App, what we're doing, you know. Right now we are just doing email, SMS, but we've already planning on adding supplementary services, right? I know Serge and me, we talked about community in Cape Town. That's something we already kind of got working on.
Nice.
Potentially adding advertising to that. I think I like, you know, keeping it retention, but again, taking our time with it. And the consultancy part for sure is like, you know, a lot of people always just hit me up and say, hey, like, how can I get your help? Like, and same way I was able to, you know, leverage people's knowledge and people's experience to elevate myself to another level. Like, I want to do that for people as well, right? Because I've definitely seen a lot of people get help from me sharing my experience and my ways of getting out of, you know, a phase that they might be in that I was in the previous past. Outside of that, in my personal life, you know, investments. I've just been thinking, like, I'm so young. I just want to be my best self. I just want to elevate myself, because I think a lot of opportunities that I'm not even, you know, I can tell you all the things I want to do, but I think if I just elevate myself, there might be opportunities that I don't even think of, I can't even fathom that will come my way.
That's interesting.
Just like how my email agency journey was accidental. It was luck, you know, right preparation, meeting the right opportunity. I'm just always trying to stay prepared, so when the right opportunity comes, I can capitalize on it.
Love it. And to wrap things up, where can people find you?
Oh, for sure. At SplashPJ on Instagram. My Twitter is at SplashmanPB. My YouTube, same thing. I'm gonna be uploading more on YouTube as I go. You know, these podcasts I've been doing have been a good way of me kind of just warming myself up to get back into, you know, making content.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of building, you know, marketing stuff, building the funnels and such for my business. So I haven't been able to make content as much, but definitely going to be a huge priority when I go back.
Love it.
But yeah, that's where you guys can find me. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate you. Always a great time.
Likewise. All right.
Yes, sir. Lovely.